Welcome back to Fur Talk. We're trying something new this episode. I'm going to start doing videos on the different dog breeds. I'm not going to stop doing the other videos. I'm just adding this to the mix. I keep talking about looking at the different breeds and trying to decide which one works best for you. So how do you know what the different breeds are? There's over 200 breeds that are just AKC alone. That doesn't even count the breeds that are worldwide. Now, before we go any further, I do want to say I made a mistake on a previous video. And if I make mistakes and I figure it out, then I will be more than happy to correct myself. If someone asks me a question, I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer, and I'll do my best to figure it out. The mistake I made was on the Irish Wolfhound, which is today's breed. I mentioned previously that they were used to knock knights off horses, and that's incorrect. I was misremembering the Irish Wolfhound with a different breed. We will get to that other breed in a future episode. But for right now, suffice it to say, I was wrong, and I admit it. And I hope to correct that record today. Now, how did the Irish Wolfhound really actually get started? Now, I am not going to say all the Irish names involved and that sort of thing, because even though my family comes from Ireland, there is no way I can pronounce the names. So please forgive me if I skip over names or if I do mispronounce anything that comes up. So the first record of the Irish Wolfhound is just before the year 400. And in that case, it was called an Irish Greyhound, I believe. They were taken to Rome to one of the consuls, and it was a gift used for fighting lions and bears. And they talked about how all Rome viewed them with wonder. They were originally used as hunting dogs. The Irish Wolfhound name comes from wolf and hound. Hound was the word they used for hunting dogs. Now, there's a lot of stories that come around after that that go down through the years and that sort of thing, where different ages talked about different things with them. But basically, it talks about how they were all bred to be these hounds, these dogs that chased during a hunt. They were large, they were fierce. A lot of times they were referred to as greyhounds, even though they don't have the same look as the modern day greyhounds. Now, they do talk about how they became so popular in the European houses that they left Ireland so depleted of them that a declaration by Oliver Cromwell, published in 1652, went to attempt to secure sufficient numbers to control the wolf population there. But it's believed that the last wolf was killed out in 1786, and shortly after that, the wolfhounds remained in the family of the descendants, but slowly petered out. Now, in the late 1800s, Captain George Augustus Graham decided that he wanted to bring back the breed, but he couldn't find any pure breds of the original integrity to work with. So what he did was he looked at all the dogs, all the different breeds that were bred off the original Irish Wolfhound, and was able to look back at what the original standard was for them and try to breed back to it, kind of reverse engineering back to the original. Now, what are the ones that were bred from it? Well, from the original stock, you ended up with the Deerhound, the Greyhound, the Great Dane. There are several of them that were derived from the Wolfhound, including the Borzoi, the Tibetan Wolf Dog, several others. And in 1885, Captain Graham founded the Irish Wolfhound Club and the breed standard of points to establish and agree the ideal to which the breeders would aspire. And in 1902, the Irish Wolfhound was declared the regimental mascot of the Irish Guards, which I think is absolutely amazing. I don't know about you guys, but I love sitting and watching the different things like Trooping of the Colors and different events that they bring the different regiments out. And I just perk up so much for three different things. First of all, the Blues and Royals. Second of all, the Household Cavalry. And third of all, the Irish Guard. I love watching the Wolfhound out there. It is absolutely amazing to watch this dog. I have always wanted an Irish Wolfhound. That's something I've never been in a position to responsibly have one, because at the time that I had the property to have one was not a time when it would have been conducive to have one. At the time, I actually had a wolf. I had a half wolf, half Akita. So an Irish Wolfhound would not have been a good idea to have at that time. And that's the only time when I actually had the property to have something of this size. I had 15 acres and horses, and I did a lot of trail riding. Now, DNA analysis shows that there has been some strong DNA sharing between the Irish Wolfhound, the Deerhound, the Whippet, and the Greyhound. Significant amounts of DNA with the Great Dane. So you can really look at those. All of those, if you stop to think about it, with the exception of the Great Dane, they are all sight hounds. Now, the Great Dane has the sight hound build, but is not a sight hound. They are bred differently. But you can see the influence in there. Now, how big are these dogs? These dogs are considered giant. And it goes back and forth between the Irish Wolfhound and the Great Dane as to the largest dog. The Irish Wolfhound has slightly in the lead as far as height goes, but the Great Dane has more bulk. That's basically why the Great Danes wouldn't make a great sight hound, because they have more bulk. They're not the sleek that you need for the sight hound. At the withers, which is at the top of the shoulder blade. So if you imagine the back of the dog and where the neck comes down, there's usually that little area there. You can feel the transition between the back and the neck right there along the back. That is your withers. Okay. If measuring from the top of that to the floor, you're expecting that you're looking at between 81 and 86 centimeters, which is roughly 32 to 34 inches. Now, the minimum height and weight tends to be 79 centimeters or 31 inches with 54.5 kilograms, which is about 120 pounds. And that's for your dogs. That's for your males. And 71 centimeters, which is 28 inches. And 40.5 kilograms, which is 89 pounds for your females, your bitches. These are more massively built than the Scottish Deerhound, but less so than the Great Dane. So that should give you a rough area in there. The coat is hard and rough because they're out in the open. They're out in the field. They're out working. So they have to be waterproof. They have to be resistant to brambles and burrs and bushes and things like that. So they have to have a coat that holds up. That has to hold up to the environment and to the weather. So it has to be a rough coat. It also has a beard and hair over the eyes that's particularly wiry. That's to protect the face. As I've mentioned before, think about what these dogs were bred to do. Think about why they were bred the way they were, and you understand not only their personalities, but also their function. These dogs come in black, brindle, fawn, gray, red, pure white, and any color seen on a deerhound. Let me catch you up on something here, and that's a term that I have used already, and it's called sight hound. What is a sight hound? Hounds come in two different types. You have a scent hound and a sight hound. A scent hound, think bloodhound. They collect the smell from the ground, from other items, and they follow the scent to where they need to go. Sight hounds, on the other hand, have the longer face. They have the eyes in a different configuration. They follow movement. In other words, their sight. They're able to see the prey. They're able to see what they're going after, and they're able to make chase after whatever it is they're chasing. Whether it's a plastic bag on a string, or it's a rabbit in the woods, or a wolf, which is what these were bred to do. These were bred to bring down wolves. Now, you would think with them being wolfhounds and bringing down wolves and hunting dogs and all this, you would think they would have a really fierce personality. Let me tell you from personal experience, these dogs are the biggest teddy bears in the world. These dogs, they go out, they run, they run, they run, half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, and they come in and collapse, and a little kid can crawl all over them. I would not recommend that unless it's supervised for any dog breed. Don't let your kids crawl especially toddlers, crawl all over a dog unsupervised. Watch the dog's body language. But they have a very, very sweet personality. They are individuals. Not every one of them is exactly the same. They do have their own personality quirks, but that's with any dog, that's with any person even. They're going to have different personality quirks, but in general, their personalities are very calm. Their personalities are very sweet. They're very loving. They're very loyal. They tend to be a little bit introverted. They're smart. They develop a very strong bond with their family. But if you leave them for long periods of time, they can become destructive, just like any dog will. If they get bored, they're going to get destructive. So give them things to do. And they do become sad and depressed if you leave them for long periods of time because they are bonded closely to their family. They do look intimidating, but they're not really the kind that's going to be like, say, a Rottweiler that you can really put out there, or a Doberman that you can really put out there and have them be overly protective. These guys will be protective if provoked, but they're not going to be out there as a guard dog. They're more as a watchdog. There's a saying that goes along with these that I think is really sums them up. They're gentle when stroked, fierce when provoked. I've heard that one so many different times, so many different places. I can't even tell you where it originated from, but it describes him so well. These dogs don't live that long. I'll tell you right there. Heartbreakingly, they don't live that long. Being a giant breed, the puppy phase, the growth phase lasts 18 to 24 months. They're not full grown at a year like most breeds are, so it takes them a little bit longer. But the lifespan is only about 7 to 10 years. That's if you take really good care of them and you don't have any major health issues come up. That's not a long time. Shortly after they come out of puppyhood, they're already starting to close in on senior status. So just keep that in mind. They're wonderful dogs. They're great to have, but you're not going to have them that long. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay with the fact that you're not going to be able to keep these dogs as long as, say, a German Shepherd or a Chihuahua or a Pug or any other breed that you could get, if you're okay with the shorter lifespan, then keep going. And as much as we would really love to keep them forever, that's unfortunately not reality. Now, your most frequently reported diseases on these dogs are the dilated cardiomyopathy, bone cancer, gastric dilation, volvulus, I believe is how you say it. I cannot remember that one. And osteochondrosis, I think is the other one. I'm trying to remember. I cannot swear to it. Someone please help me who has an Irish Wolfhound. I am going to leave a link below to the Irish Wolfhound Club of America. On that site, you can find a lot more information about these wonderful dogs. You can find out things about what kinds of activities you can do with them, what kinds of events there are around them. Find out more about the health considerations. There's even a link to puppies. And if you go under Irish Wolfhounds and go down on the drop-down menu a little ways down, you have to scroll a little bit, not far, but you'll find rescue. There are rescues for Irish Wolfhounds. So if you'd rather go the rescue route, and my next video I'll be putting out, I'm going to be talking about ethical breeders, about rescues and things like that, and how to find the good ones. But this is how you find a good breed rescue for the Irish Wolfhounds. Keep in mind, breed rescues, the breed-specific rescues, were started by breeders themselves. And that was started because these dogs would be brought into the pound, and the people at the pound recognized that the local breeders of that particular breed were more equipped to find appropriate homes for these dogs, knowing their personalities and also able to deal with any health and personality issues because they had experience with the breeds. So if you have a breed in mind that you want, like the Irish Wolfhound, but you don't want to go through a breeder, then go through a breed-specific rescue, and they can help you find, whether it's locally or you have to go a little ways to pick it up for your more rare breeds. But there is a way of getting one of these dogs through rescue, and they can also answer questions for you and find alternatives if there are no rescues for the rarer breeds that might be something comparable, so that you can have something that you won't and not have to worry about going through a breeder. There's no problems with going through a breeder. That's a personal choice, and I want to give those options in a future video. But you'll also find your Irish Wolfhound clubs, so you'll be able to find your local clubs that deal specifically with the Irish Wolfhounds. And what's great about that is you can find out more about the breed specifically, but also about what kind of events can you do with them, what kind of socialization can you participate in. If you want to show these dogs, it will get you in touch with someone who will help you learn how to show the dogs. So there's a lot of things you can learn. They also, a lot of times, the different breed clubs will have health clinics. I've participated in running those health clinics before, where you would go in and you would get the microchip. You would have the breed-specific testing done, whether it be eye testing, whether it be hearing testing, whether it be heart. There's any number of them, depending on the breed. You can go in and have these testings done for free in some cases and inexpensive, or for donations in other cases. So you can get eyes certified, you can get heart certified, knees, elbows, hips. They're different prices, but you can go in and have these things done, or they can point you in the direction of vets who can do them for you at reasonable rates, and also the more experienced vets for certain situations. Most vets are great for general, but there are some that are specialists in certain things. Think about human health. You've got your general practitioner, but then you also have your cardiologist, you've got your optometrist, you've got your endocrinologist, you've got your, you name it. And you're going to find these through these breed clubs. They can tell you who locally does hip certification. They're going to tell you locally who does the eye certification, that sort of thing. So check out your breed clubs. And with this one, it does have the breed clubs. It also has a breeder directory. So you're going to find a lot of things here. There's even an Irish Wolfhound magazine that you can look at. They have a link for books on your Irish Wolfhounds. So there's a lot of information out there. These are such amazing dogs. I just absolutely love them. Whenever I go into a dog show, and I hope to film a dog show later this year when we have one of our local ones. But when I go into a dog show just to watch, I like to go in and check out the vendors. I like to go in and look at the different breeds. I walk through the groom areas. Whenever I see the Irish Wolfhounds out there, I immediately stop what I'm doing. There's only, I can count on one hand the number of breeds that I stop immediately and watch. And the Irish Wolfhounds have always been one of those breeds. I will stop and watch an Irish Wolfhound before I'll stop and watch a standard poodle, even though I love standard poodles, don't get me wrong. But an Irish Wolfhound, oh my gosh, they are majestic. They are huge. They are mysterious. They are sweet. They are just, you just want to go up and hug them. They are awesome dogs. I love them. Can you tell I like Irish Wolfhounds? I just really wish I could have one, but I really don't see that in my future. One of a handful of regrets that I have as far as dogs go is that I never got one. But it is what it is. I can still love them. I can still appreciate them from a distance. And if that's in your future to appreciate them from a distance, then you know more about them now. Now you know what you're appreciating. So I'm going to click on one of these links here on the Irish Wolfhound Club website. And it's activities for you and your Irish Wolfhound. And let's see what they have to say here. Obedience, agility, rally, lure coursing, racing, tracking, and therapy dog work. Confirmation. I'm just sitting here looking back at agility and thinking to myself, I have never seen an Irish Wolfhound in agility. That is something I would love to go see. I would go out of my way to go see that. And yes, I can definitely see the therapy dog work. If you're looking for a big dog to do therapy work with, that's where you go. You go to the hospitals, cheer up the old folks in nursing homes. Some people go to college campuses during exam time so that the students have a place to go and be less stressed by hugging dogs. Libraries where the kids read to the dogs, things like that. There's a lot, and that's another good video. I can do it in the future. I'll have to add that to my list. But therapy dog work. There is a lot of great programs out there, and these would make excellent dogs for that. Now, I cannot help but I'm reading down further on this one, and you can read it for yourself on the website. But I know that with Shelties, there's a couple of comments I get all the time, and that's, is that a mini Lassie? Is that a mini Collie? Is Timmy in the well? Yeah, you take a Sheltie out in public and you're going to hear that at least a couple of dozen times. You see a Sheltie in public, please don't say that. It gets old fast. Now, for the Irish Wolfhounds, is that a horse? Where's his saddle? Yeah, I can see that one. Because I've heard that in relation to other giant breeds, like the Great Dane. I've heard people use those. Is that a horse? Is that a pony? Where's the saddle? Yeah. Those kinds of things do get old. I can tell you that one right now. Those get old. They're cute at first when you first get the dog, but after a while, especially if you've had Irish Wolfhounds or Shelties or Golden Retrievers or whatever it is for years, you get tired of hearing the same thing every time you take your dog in public. I can imagine with Golden Retrievers, it's got to be Air Bud. So, yeah. Make sure with these dogs, you train them. That goes for any dog. Basic training. Sit, down, stay, leave it, heel. Those are your basic commands for any dog. Leave it is going to be a huge one with this dog. Keep in mind what these dogs were bred to do. They're lure coursers. They see a movement and they run for it. They chase it. So what if you're walking your dog down the road across a parking lot and they see a leaf blow by, they see a plastic bag blow by, and they want to chase it. They see a squirrel run across the road. They want to chase it. This dog is going to drag you. This dog is going to forget, heel, and is going to drag you. Have a solid leave it command. There's also ways of turning the head away. Do not go straight for a prong collar if you go to a trainer, and that's the first thing they want to do with your puppy is put your puppy on a prong collar, walk out and find a new trainer. Do not put this dog straight onto a prong collar. If you're having trouble as a puppy with controlling them, work extra hard. If you really need it, use a head harness like a gentle leader or a halty. Use a head harness, because if you can turn the face, you turn the dog's body's direction. If you can turn them back towards you, they're not going to run off. But don't use the halty or the gentle leader, the head harness, in place of training. Make sure you have a heel, which is not walking at the end of a retractable leash and you yelling, heel, heel, and expecting them to walk nicely beside you. That's not heel. Walking down the road with the dog sniffing here, there, and yonder is not heel. That's just loose leash walking. And don't even get me started on retractable leashes. I think whoever came up with the retractable leashes, I'd love to go up and slap them. I really do. They're the worst invention whenever it comes to dogs that you can possibly have. But you need to learn a heel where the dog is directly beside you. That way you have the ability to control your dog. When you're ready for the dog to run, you turn the dog loose. You have the dog in a secured area and turn it loose. Take it out to a pasture somewhere, to a large dog park somewhere, and turn the dog loose. Let the dog run. But when the dog is walking with you, the dog walks with you. That's a basic heel. That's not a competition heel. That's a basic heel. The dog walks with the ear to your knee in the case of shorter dogs. But in the case of this dog, the dog walks with its ear to your waist or with the ear to your shoulder, depending on your height. Imagine if you were the size that the ear would come to your shoulder and this dog takes off on you. Yeah, that's not going to look pretty for you. So make sure you have a good heel, but an even better leave it. And I will talk about training each of these items in future videos. I want to make sure you understand exactly how to do the training. That way you're not going to run into these issues. Now let me back up a little bit and talk about the retractable leashes. Now, why do I not like them? Very simply, you put your dog on a retractable leash. What does the dog do? The dog walks forward, not a problem. And when he gets out, he starts pulling on the slack on the leash. And so it tightens down. And so the dog is able to go further and it reels out. And the dog walks further and it reels out. And the dog walks further and it reels out. So what does that teach your dog? Pull on the leash and you get to go where you want to go. Pull on the leash and you get to go where you want to go. It's one thing if it's a Chihuahua that weighs 5 pounds soaking wet, but what if you have an Irish Wolfhound or a Tibetan Mastiff and this dog is wanting to walk and not wanting to stop pulling? What are you going to do? What if this dog takes off running and yanks it out of your hand or drags you down the road? What are you going to do? What happens if this dog wraps around someone walking towards you, a neighbor, an elderly person, knocks him down? The cord on the leash burns marks into their legs. That's your 80-year-old neighbor who just fell on the ground, broke a hip, and has cord burns on their legs because your dog wanted to go say hello. That is not a good thing. I'm telling you right now, that is not a good thing. And if you don't believe me about the marks, Google retractable leash injuries and look at the pictures. And that's not just people, it's other dogs too. They get tangled up together with those leashes and they're going to get wrapped around each other and they're going to burn as they rub. Think about cord burns as they run through your hands. Now, your hands are tougher than the backs of your legs. So you can start seeing what the issue is here. So what's the solution? A long line. Simple. A long line. Takes a couple of seconds extra work to reel it in by hand, but you're also going to be able to adjust the length easier. You don't have to worry about a plastic lock that's going to break and then reel out without you wanting it to. You're going to be able to adjust your dog, bring your dog in as needed a lot easier, because if you try and reel a dog in on a retractable leash, how is that going to work if the dog's straining at the leash? Not going to work at all. So if you have a retractable leash and you absolutely insist on using that retractable leash, lock it in place. You pick the length you want your dog at and lock it in place. Don't let that dog pull on that leash. Do not. Especially with a dog this big. A dog this big, you have your dog right beside you. You have your retractable leash unlocked. The dog sees a plastic bag blowing across the road and takes off running. Before you have a chance to even register the dog's taken off, much less lock it in place, much less brace yourself, that dog has already either yanked you down onto the ground or has yanked that leash out of your hands and is running out into traffic. I personally don't want to risk my dogs. I don't want to risk their health, my health, other people's health by using a retractable leash. I'll get off my soapbox now. But back to the original. Irish Wolfhounds are amazing dogs. This is a breed that I have always wanted. I've always admired. And this is a great one if you want to do something simple as far as activities go, like therapy dog work. You like the idea of being able to take your dog to a nursing home or a children's hospital or to the library and let a kid learn to read by propping up against your dog and reading to your dog. This is a great dog for doing that. This is a great dog for taking to a college campus and letting stressed out students give your dog a hug in between classes while they're doing their final exams. This is a great dog for things like that. And this dog absolutely thrives in things like that. These dogs are fairly low maintenance as far as baths go and grooming. Just a simple bath once every 2-3 months. Clean their paws, clean their sanitary area if needed. Usually doesn't unless it's a female in heat. Brush their teeth, clean their ears. I mean, very simple things. You don't have to worry about an all-over brushing like you would with, say, a rough collie. You don't have to worry about a lot of those things. These are dogs that are perfectly fine in summer, in winter. They're perfectly fine up north, down south. So these are very, very versatile dogs. They look intimidating. So if you need a watchdog, if you need a dog to look intimidating, they're great for that. I wouldn't expect them to be attack dogs. They're not going to do that unless it's something threatening their family. And in that case, I would not want to try and hurt a family with an Irish Wolfhound. Let's just put it that way. I would not want to break into that house. I would not want to try and hurt a child or try and abduct a child with an Irish Wolfhound standing guard. It would not end well. But they're not going to go after just some stranger walking down the road. I saw an article on these. Who would win in a fight, a pit bull or an Irish Wolfhound? And simply because of the jaw strength, pit bull would win against one, but not against two. Because remember, what were these dogs bred to do? They would go out 2 or 3 at a time and hunt down wolves. And I haven't seen the statistics of pit bull versus a wolf, but I would put my money on a wolf even before I look at the statistics. And if these dogs can take down a wolf, then 2 Irish Wolfhounds can bring down a pit bull. So these are going to be good, strong dogs. If you're looking for something good and strong, something that you can actually really work with, this is going to be a good dog for you. So just keep this one in mind. Look up the Irish Wolfhound Club of America website I have listed below. That's going to be an excellent place to start your search. And no, I do not get money back from the link. The only time I get any consideration is if I put, say, for instance, my books in the comments. Yeah, I get a little bit from that, a few cents. Nothing big, you know. I want to say like a nickel, 10 cents if you get my books. So I just put them down there so you have them, so you have access to them. So if I put something down there, it's something that either I feel is helpful or something that I've used. And I'm sitting here looking at their website, and they have a very good website here. And they have a great place you can sit and ask questions and resources you can go to. So if this is something you're interested in finding out more about, go for it. This is a great dog. I cannot emphasize that near enough. These are awesome dogs. So let me know in the comments if you've had an Irish Wolfhound, if you have Irish Wolfhounds, if you have friends or family who have them, and tell me your experiences with them. I've had them in training classes, and they are very good dogs. Like I said, I've had most breeds in my classes at one point or another over 20 years. So I've had these before. I love them. They're great dogs. When you see a puppy, they're not like you would expect a puppy. These, let's just say the size of an Irish Wolfhound puppy is bigger than my Shelties. At least the ones who came to my classes were. They are huge, and they are sturdy, and they are amazing. So let me know your experiences with them. And I have the names of all of the AKC breeds in a Ziploc bag. Now I've taken all of the recognized AKC breeds along with a handful of others, for instance the Shiloh Shepherd, and I've put them each on a piece of paper, and I've gone old school on this and taken those pieces of paper and put them down into a bag. And I'm going to draw out 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, of those 5, I'm going to pick one out for my next video. Soon I will be listing them off and letting you pick them. First up is the Saluki. Second is the Chow Chow. Next is the Brittany. then the Pumi, and finally I have miniature poodle. And I am going to pick among those. As much as I would love to do the Saluki, we just did a sight hound, so I'm putting that one back. So that leaves Brittany, miniature poodle, Chow Chow, and Pumi. I think I am going to do Brittany next. So next up is going to be the Brittany. That is a spaniel. They are great dogs. They're hunting dogs. And look for the next video with the Brittany. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video. The next video coming out that I will be recording, let's see, tomorrow is Thursday, so I will be recording this on Friday. We'll be talking about how to go about finding a good breeder, how to go about finding a good rescue, finding other ways of obtaining dogs depending on what you're looking for. Breeders and rescues are your two most common, but there are a handful of other ways, and I'm going to share with you some of the different ways you can find dogs. And depending on your budget and the breed that you're looking for, you should hopefully be able to find an option in there that works for you. Remember, don't be afraid of your home checks. Don't be afraid of your vet checks, because all they're trying to do is make sure you do have a vet lined up. So if you haven't already got a pet, just find a vet locally and go in and talk to them so that they have it on record that you are looking for a vet, that you're looking to get a dog. And this goes for cats too, because a lot of the rescues, they're going to ask the same things for the cats, but let them know that you're looking and that you want to put them down on record so that they can call in and make sure that you have made arrangements to bring the dog in. That's all they're looking for, is to make sure you're not going to throw the dog out into the backyard, forget about the dog, and the dog dies. They're trying to avoid that. Also, as far as the home checks go, they just want to make sure you're not a hoarder. They're going to make sure that you do have a fairly clean place. It does not have to be spotless, trust me. They're not looking for spotless. They're just looking for hazards. They're making sure you don't keep chemicals sitting out. They want to make sure that there's not dangers for the dog. They want to make sure if this is a dog that has to have regular exercise, that either you're going to have access to a park nearby that you can exercise your dog, you have access to a backyard that's fenced adequately, or that you've got some sort of situation already figured out. Say you live in an apartment and you want a dog that's fairly active, but you live across the street from a park, and you can show that you can go over to that park every day, throw a frisbee, go running, whatever it is you do, then they're going to take that into consideration. Yes, for a while, my husband and I were traveling in an RV. There are a lot of people who travel in RVs. So what do they do if they want a dog? A lot of rescues are not going to look favorably on someone who's mobile like that. But a breeder is. A breeder's going to be fine with it because they understand traveling with dogs, going to dog shows. So as long as you're going to show that what exceptions you're going to be making to make sure the dog is healthy and comfortable and meets all the dog's needs, they're going to be more lenient. So I'm going to be giving a lot of options like that so that you know what you're looking at. You're going to know what to look for, what questions to ask, and what to make sure you have as far as contracts, deposits, offers of making payments. With Hank, the black and white Sheltie you see on my videos, he's my service dog. He is a diabetic alert dog. He's actually laying right here at my feet right now. But with Hank, I waited over a year for his breeding. I had to fly from Texas to North Carolina to pick him up from an excellent breeder there. He was bred for a specific purpose, to be a service dog. But I was able to make payments ahead of time as soon as the litter was confirmed. As soon as the live births were confirmed, I went ahead and sent a deposit. And I picked him up at 10 weeks. And over the course of those 10 weeks, I made a payment each week so that by the time I picked him up, He was paid for. You can make arrangements like that with a lot of places, whether it's rescues, whether it's breeders. Not everybody will do it, but a lot of people will work with you. If you give the money and you go ahead and sign the contract saying you're going to finish paying for it, then they will take that into consideration. Just don't do like someone did with me about 15 years ago. Pay the deposit and then keep putting it off coming to get the dog, and then end up getting a different dog of a different breed and then want their money back when the dog's been sitting there with me for 4 months. No, that doesn't work that way. So we'll be talking about all that next time, and so I will see you then. Have a great day.